What's up, agents? How y'all doing? Hope everybody's hanging in there. This is most likely going to be my last video of 2023. Been a very interesting year. The last couple years have been very interesting. So luckily we've had the division to get us on through, and today I want to bring you guys one of my new favorite builds. So this is my new Vile Marshal build. Recently we brought you the Fire Marshal build using the new Ortiz, what is it called? I want to get this right. The Ortiz Incinerator Turret Prototype. So we went ahead, played around with this a bit, but I spent some more time actually digging into it, and I have a build that I think is absolutely incredible. I've seen some other variations around, but this by far is the best variation I've come up with yet. As always, if you guys learned something new in this video, slapping that like button be greatly appreciated. Hopefully by the end of this, I will have earned you guys subscriptions. Best thing you can do to help my channel is to share this video. And if you guys would do this any differently, if you guys have been running any combinations that are really cool, please let me know in the comment section down below. All right, guys, without further ado, let's get into the last build video of 2023, the Ortiz Turret Prototype. All right, dudes, well, we definitely do want to set the world on fire, and this thing does really good at it. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we have to do is address the specialization. Now, you can use the Technician, you'll get the Faraday field, the overclock CPU and stuff, but with testing, I found that there is a better way to run it, and that's using the Firewall. The Firewall gives you the Flamethrower. It will add 20% additional burn duration. This is huge when they're burning. A, they're taking damage, and two, they're not shooting at you when they're burning. Now, they'll start shooting their gun, but they don't hit anything. Also, you will get 30% health on kill. This can be beneficial if you're taking some damage. You guys know if you're taking damage periodically, your health will not regenerate. This is a way to get that going. Also, when your armor does break, you will cause burn to any enemy within 5 meters of you. So this can be a good get-out-of-jail-free card in case you need it. Now, any enemies that are within 10 meters of you, your allies will do 10% more damage. So one of the things I tend to do is run right in the group of the enemies, right in the middle of them, set up the turret, have it start burning, and that way everybody's near me, everybody's on fire. They can't shoot, my team can knock them down. Now, if I'm running solo, I play a bit more safe than that, but it does work to great effect. Now, one cool thing is while we're doing that cover to cover, move up into the middle of them to place the turret, catch everybody on fire, we do get 30% bonus armor during a cover to cover move. Now, the last thing, the Firewall will get us the Striker Shield. And coincidentally, I made a joke in one of the older videos about how no matter what, when you run this build, you're going to run Striker. You're either going to run the Striker Drone when you are solo or the Striker Shield when you're in a group. I'm sure everybody can realize how you would work it with the Striker Shield. We won't be covering this. We're basically going to be covering the solo build using the Striker Drone in this video. But do realize you could swap them out at any time. All right, so the gear set, we got the new Ortiz Exuro Gear Set. We're going to be running 4 pieces of this to include running the backpack. 2 pieces will give us the 20% burn duration plus 15% skill health. That skill health doesn't help the turret so much, but it will help the drone. 3 pieces nets us 40% additional burn damage. That's huge right there. The 4th piece gives us the Ortiz Incinerator Turret Prototype. This makes it spin in 360 degrees. It makes us immune to fire from our turret. This is a big one. This one I don't get. You're only immune to the fire from your turret, but you'll take damage from any other source of fire. One thing I think that they should do is just make this gear set so you're immune to fire. I mean, why not? You know, okay, yeah, you might not take damage from other things, but that's kind of part of the run of the build, right? So you're only immune to fire from your turret. All other fire will burn the shit out of you. And when you disable this, say you have skilled out, so you go ahead and disable it, or just because you want to, it does explode very much like the turret in Division 1. Once you've mastered the turret in the Division 1, it does the same thing where it blows up. Okay, so the Exuro backpack, one thing to note is this gives us the heat stroke. This gives 2 bonuses. The first one, it gives us 25% weapon damage to anything burning specifically from the Ortiz turret. Not anything burning, it has to be burning from the turret. So that's 25% weapon damage. And when we look into the weapons and we start running ignited, you know, you're looking at like 45% bonus weapon damage right there. So that's pretty bitchin'. But the main reason we're running the backpack is for that 25% turret range. That is huge. That will greatly increase the effective area that our turret can ignite things. So definitely worth running heat stroke on the backpack there. All right, for our brand set, now you could run Golan or you could run Electric for the status effects. However, to maximize our damage, we are going to run with China Light for the 15% explosive damage. I'll explain that in just a moment here real quick. So you get 15% explosive damage. We're going to run with the skilled talent. The reason we're running skilled is there is a very, very long cooldown on this turret. We need to mitigate that any way possible. So skilled has been the best bang for the buck. Any skill or any kill that you get with the turret or with your striker drone has a chance of proccing that and refreshing both the skills. Now the last piece we're going to be using and why we went with the China Light, we are going to be using the Vial Mask, obviously since it's in the name. This will give us toxic delivery. This, when you apply a status effect to any given enemy, they also get a debuff for 10 seconds, which causes damage based on 50% of the concussive grenade damage, and that is increased by status effects. And so that right there is why, simply adding the China Light, our concussive grenade damage goes from 1.4 to 1.6 million. So that means right there we went from 700,000 base to 800,000 base damage that we're going to do with the vial that then gets buffed by the status effects. So the China Light by far has the most amount of damage that we're going to get out of this build. One other thing to note about the vial, the debuff from the vial is buffed by damage to armor, damage to health, and damage to targets out of cover. So by choosing weapons that has one or both of those, you will immediately see the damage difference, and you can even swap the weapons while it's doing damage and see those damage numbers change. So you definitely want to consider that when using this build, what weapons you're using. We'll get into that in a moment. Talking about the attributes, we're going to want status effects on all the Exuro pieces. The vial comes with status effects and hazard protection on it. On the China Light, we're going to go ahead and run the status effects, and we're going to run skill damage. This buffs the initial damage of the turret a little bit, but this gives the striker drone a little bit of bonus damage, thus increasing the chances of it getting a kill, thus proccing skilled, making sure we have 100% uptime of our skills. Now the mods, we have 3 mod slots. I'm running 2 skill haste to cut down on the cooldown as much as possible, but I am running in the chest piece 1 18,000 armor on kill. This is our only form of getting armor back in fights other than using an armor kit. So luckily, since enemies aren't shooting at us because they're burning so much of the time, it's actually fairly effective, and it's just an extra safeguard. You do not have to run that armor on kill. You could even run skill duration if you wanted to do that. I like the cooldown. You can get a little more burn. The thing is, I'm realizing that most things, except for the largest, the juggernauts and things like that, or things that are immune, it doesn't matter anyway. And if it's immune, then what does it matter if you have a longer burn duration? All right, now we're going to talk about weapons. Now, generally, the first thing I say is, hey, you guys use whatever weapons you want to use, blah, blah, blah. But in this particular build, actually, we're not even using an exotic. And the reason for that is to maximize our damage and the efficacy of this build, we want to run this a very specific way. We will get into the mechanics of it in a moment, but the weapons, our main hand, and this is what we refer to as our initial weapon. This is to proc the max damage. We want a shotgun with perpetuation. Now, the reason why perpetuation adds 50% status effect and 50% duration. So this is the largest bang for the buck for both the damage that our turret does for the burning, as well as adding damage to the vial. Remember, the vial is buffed by status effects. So that bonus 50% status effect does help, as well as the duration there. The duration doesn't technically buff the vial. The vial is always 10 seconds no matter what. Now, on this shotgun, natively shotguns can come up with 12% damage to armor, which is double the normal, which is 6%. So that's huge right there. You can also roll 10% damage to targets out of cover there. So if we add that together, that's 22% bonus damage right there for holding this weapon. Now, while it seems that's the best way to go to maximize your damage, what you can do is in your second hand, what we call the engagement weapon. This is where we will go with an LMG with Ignited. This gives us a lot of bullets to put down range. The Ortiz turret, they're burning, so we're going to do 25% bonus weapon damage to anything burning. Ignited gives us a bonus 20% damage to burning enemies. So when we add those together, that's 45% bonus damage there. The LMG can come with natively 12% damage to targets out of cover and can roll 6% damage to armor. So when we add that, there's only 18% versus the 22% bonus damage from the shotgun. However, unlike the shotgun, this LMG can be used to great effect, can be used for a long time, can suppress enemies, has much better range, and is just a great weapon for engaging, and helps to maximize our damage no matter what we're doing. Now, the last thing we'll note is the sidearm. If you find that your turret's down, all you have is your striker drone, you can buff the damage of the striker drone, helping it to proc skill, getting the kill, by using a sidearm with Insane. So this will, of course, buff the pistol damage a little bit, but most importantly, will buff the damage of your striker drone up to 30% bonus skill damage. Now, I know there's a lot of other weapons you can use, but if we're talking simply maximizing the damage this Ortiz turret is going to do, it is definitely going to be using the combination of the shotgun and the LMG. All right, now before talking about the actual gameplay and mechanics, let's talk about the skills. So let's jump right into it. The Ortiz Incinerator Turret Prototype. You're going to have a cooldown of 40 to 45 seconds, depending on how you're running it. You're going to have a duration of 25 to 30 seconds. And note that this duration is the actual time it's spent burning. It will slowly, the duration will go down slowly as it's sitting there inactive, but it's only really when you have the turret active that it's burning away that duration. And so this is a good thing to note because you can turn the turret off and on. I will have the turret burn everybody. As soon as they start burning and they're taking the vial damage, I'll stop the turret. I'll wait. As soon as the buff goes away, I'll hit it again. Everybody's burning, I'll stop it. And that way I can use the same turret for a couple of minutes straight to inflict massive amount of damage. And since the turret does like 4 times as much damage burning as it does each time it burns, there's really no reason. That 50,000 per burn that happens once every time it spins around is not worth wasting that turret fuel. So just food for thought on that one. Now, the damage, it's going to initially hit for 45 to 50k. Like I said, each time it spins around, it's going to hit once for that damage. That's not a whole lot of damage. That's not what we're worried about. Now, because we're running the backpack, we do have a range of 19 meters on this bad boy. Now, what we're really getting to, the burn damage. You're looking at 190,000 plus per tick of the burn. And that burn duration will last 11 to 13 seconds. Of course, named enemies, things like that, they have more resilience. The more powerful an enemy is, the more resistant it's going to be. So you will see times when they will not burn as long as that. In fact, we got a 10-second buff on the vial, 13 seconds on the fire, but you'll see oftentimes the fire will burn out in about 7 seconds, and the vial damage is still going. And so just wait for the vial to stop, and then reproc, because otherwise you will not proc the vial. They'll be burning, and you'll have to wait for that second burn to wear out before you can proc the vial again. So just to note, in PvP, you're also looking at 40,000 as the initial hit, but you're only looking at 30,000 burn. Now, while that doesn't seem amazing, you got to remember that dudes that are burning in PvP are going to have a significantly harder time shooting you. All right, and real quick for the mods, we got a 5% burn damage mod, a 10% health mod, and a 7.5 haste mod. Those are the same mods we're using for the striker drone as well. A 7% duration, 10% health, 5% damage mod. Our striker drone is going to have an 18 to 20 second cooldown. It's going to do about 50,000 damage per bullet. In PvP, it's going to be doing about 10k. And just a note, if you want to swap out the striker drone for the striker shield in a group, you can use this to help protect yourself while you walk up, drop the turret there. Another cool thing is if you drop the turret, people are burning, then you can aim at dudes and anybody within your cone. Remember, if they're in your cone, they're going to take the 10% damage from the striker, the Firewall Specialization, as well as they're going to take additional damage for being up in that cone from the shield. So you can use the striker shield. I like using the drone better, particularly because the drone can help me to proc skilled, and it can grab additional aggro. So I like the striker drone. Check out the striker shield. And of course, people have used a myriad of different sorts of things. I have a guy who just was using the BTSU gloves and the Restorer Hive the other day to pretty good effect. So, mess around with it, play around with it. This is what worked best for me. All right, guys, we're getting towards the end here. Now we just have to go over the basic gameplay mechanics before letting some actual gameplay roll out. It's really easy. Basically, what you're trying to do. Now, if you got lucky, you may, and we've covered this before in any status effects build. The cool thing about the perpetuation, if you proc perpetuation, if you get it on your bar, you can run around from one engagement to another engagement, keeping it ready to go. As long as you don't swap weapons, you'll have perpetuation ready to rock and roll. You're out of combat, you see a group of enemies, you're getting ready for the next engagement. Take cover, aim for right in the middle of them or somewhere near them, depending on, obviously you want to be smart. Choose your position, do a cover to cover move. In case they spot you while you're doing the cover, you're going to have that 30% bonus armor. Most likely they're not going to spot you in time. You do the cover to cover, you pop up your turret, you have your shotgun in your hand, so they immediately start burning. They're going to take that bonus 12% damage to armor and the 10% damage to targets out of cover while it starts proccing. They suddenly are burning. They're taking the debuff damage from the vial. At that point, you have the choice to swap over to your LMG, start burning dudes down. Anybody that's burning, you're going to be doing that 45% bonus weapon damage too. The one thing to note is you do not want to kill anybody with your weapon. Let them die from the burn or your striker drone, as that can help to proc skilled. If you already have skilled proc, then go ahead and annihilate everything with your weapon. It doesn't matter. You can't stack up multiple charges of skilled. You can only have one. So once you have skilled proc, just decimate everything with your weapon if you can. Oh, one thing to note is as you're getting these kills, each kill will proc 18,000 armor from the mod. You will get a little over 100,000 of your health back from the specialization, and each one of these kills will have a chance of proccing your skill. Now, should you find yourself in the disadvantageous position of not having your turret available, without your turret, what you can do is swap to your sidearm within sync. This will help to buff your striker drone damage by 30%. While your striker drone is damaging things, your pistol will do a little bit of damage. And basically, you're just hoping to wait out the cooldown, or more, really hopefully that the striker drone will go ahead and proc skilled for you so that you will then immediately get your turret back. Really, the gameplay for this is rather self-explanatory. You know, you're just moving up into position and you're just trying to keep dudes on fire. You're trying to make sure that you don't get flanked. And the best way you can do this is put yourself either into a corner or a bottleneck of some sort and just play smart. That's all there really is to it. One last thing to note is the turret does have the propensity to fall off of things, or you set it on something and it falls into things, and then all of a sudden, because it's inside something, the flame's not hitting anything. I've had plenty of times where I've dropped the turret right in front of me. I'm surrounded by ads. The turret's spinning on fire, but literally nothing's catching on fire. It's just bad coding. There's nothing you can really do about that. A lot of times I will toss the turret instead of placing it. A lot of times when I place the turret is when it places it inside of a solid object. So your mileage may vary. Maybe you don't have this issue. All right, y'all. So we're just checking out the damage numbers now. We're going to start baseline. So this is a pistol with just damage to armor. And I believe that damage to targets out of cover does not affect the burn damage, but it does affect the vial damage. So we're going to find out. We should expect to see the lowest vial numbers with the pistol, a little bit higher with the machine gun, and the highest with the shotgun. I believe the damage between these two, burn damage should be the same because these are both 6% damage to armor. And then when we swap over to shotgun, we should see the burn damage also go up. So before using perpetuation, here's damage to armor. This is 12% damage to targets out of cover, 6% damage to armor. Now we're going with the full 12% damage to armor and 10% damage to targets out of cover. There we go. Dude, it's not turning off. There we go. So as you guys can see, the damage to targets out of cover will buff the vial damage, but it does not buff the burn damage. But it is still definitely worth having. So overall, you are going to get the most bang for the buck anytime you hold a shotgun in your hand with the combination of the 12% damage to armor, 10% damage to targets out of cover. Again, you know, this build, this has really grown on me. When it first came out, it was a little bit fun, but as soon as we added the vial and the China light to it, this became an actual top tier contender. It is better in group play, I will admit. There are better builds for running solo. However, it is totally viable. I even used it recently to try to do the solo heroic version of the manhunt for Brian, whatever his nuts is. So yeah, it worked pretty good. It does have some caveats here and there, but overall, this is, I give them 2 thumbs up on this gear set. I think this gear set is really awesome. I'm stoked that we finally have something that works with the flame turret. The flame turret obviously was never being used, so this is probably the only way it will ever be used now, and it's pretty fucking awesome. So, all right, you know, I can just keep talking, but I'm not going to. You guys can check out some additional gameplay here, and do me a favor, guys. Just be as safe as you need to be. Spread the love. You know, just be a good person. You know, it's so easy to get angry in this world and things happening, and it's way better to take out your anger inside this game here. So, all right, everybody, be as safe as you need to be out there. Do me a favor, if you guys found this entertaining and learned something new, smash that like button, would be greatly appreciated. By now, hopefully, I have earned your guys' subscriptions. Best thing you can do to help my channel is to share this video. And anything you would do different, anything you guys want to see coming up in this new year, leave a comment down below. You agents, be as safe as you need to be out there. I wish all of you a wonderful new year, and I will catch you guys in 2024. Peace out, everybody.
Track Jack to the site of crashed drone. We'll get you the coordinates.
Yeah.